All right, good evening, guys, and welcome to another Live at 9:45. This week, I am excited to bring you another new guest. You never know what you're going to get on this show, and this week I have someone that I think is pretty interesting, and I can't wait to share what they have going on with you. So before I get things fired up and rolling, let me talk about a few things that I have going on right now. And that if you're someone new or just tuning in, some things that maybe you haven't heard before or haven't seen. First off, as always, guys, please keep it PG. I appreciate the fact that you are tuning in. I appreciate that you all comment more than you ever will know, honestly. But please keep it PG. I have a club that I'm attached to inside of a high school now where those kids are inevitably going to find my stuff online because I talk about it all the time, and they're going to follow that and see it, and I want to make sure that it's as appropriate for them to see as possible. And so I appreciate all you guys keeping your comments in that realm. Additionally, some other things coming from me to check out. Check out all of my social media stuff. So VanOrd Customs Facebook page. Check out the website at vanordcustoms.com. Check out the Instagram at vanord_customs. And lastly, my YouTube channel at VanOrd Customs, where you can go over there and check out any other video, any other live feed that I have done to date. I believe there are like 30 some of them now in the queue for Live at 9:45. And so if you've seen a bunch of them, you know that each and every one is unique and deserves a watch because there's some very interesting people that have been on throughout the past. So let's talk a little bit about our guest this evening. Our guest this evening is Dan Thompson. And so Dan Thompson runs a RC lighting company, actually, called My Trick RC. I know he has his hands in various different areas and places inside the RC community when it comes to lighting, and so it's not only scale crawlers this time, it's a little bigger than that and a little bit interesting in that regard. So without further ado, I am going to find him in my queue here in my list of people, bring him on the show, get this fired up, and get this interview up and rolling. So give me just a second, guys. All right. We are coming on the show, and as always, guarantee my speaker will not be the right volume. Hey, how's it going?
Hey, Adam, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great, and welcome to everybody. Thanks for joining.
Awesome, man. So let's start with like the easy, fast, quick question of tell us a little bit about yourself, because in case people don't know you or don't know a lot about you, who are you, what do you do, that whole spiel.
Yeah, so basically I'm a mechanical engineer. I am the creator and founder of My Trick RC, but before doing any of that, I started out my career working actually in the audio industry and the music industry, working on a lot of electronic equipment and stuff for musicians. So I'm a mechanical engineer by background. That's what I went to school for, and that's really what I've done in my whole career. But over time, I worked for a lot of small companies, and I got the entrepreneurial bug, and I always wanted to do something. And I really didn't know what that thing would ever be, but I just kind of took in as much as I could in the environments that I was in, and kind of learned how companies run and all the different departments and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, and getting into the RC stuff is something that happened kind of later on in my life, but as far as my background goes, I'm a mechanical engineer. I also do work outside of the RC industry currently. I do some consulting work on a number of products. Most of the stuff I do is not audio. It's actually I do a lot of medical products and that kind of stuff. And so, but this is My Trick RC is a major part of my life these days. I mean, it's a full-time job. Plus, I do other stuff too.
Right. Understandable, man. So I see how, like, I didn't ask that question of you at all prior to this, and so I see how your actual, like, background of all of your stuff very much so ties into RC and what you're doing.
Right.
When did you find the RC hobby? Like, how long have you been in and involved in what's going on? And so, Dan, I'm also going to pose that question to everybody who's watching. I saw a lot of people log in. I haven't seen a lot of comments yet. Guys, how long have you been in this great hobby that we're all in right now?
So in my case, when I was in high school. It might even been, yeah, it was high school. I'm originally from Michigan. We moved out to California in the early 80s. I went to high school in Cyprus. And my brother and I went in together. We didn't have a lot of money. We got a Tamiya Hornet was our first vehicle. I mean, that was like ages ago when there were NiCad batteries and all that kind of stuff. And they had a little resistor on there for the throttle control that would get like crazy burning hot. I don't know if you remember those days, but anyway, I actually still have that vehicle. That's what kind of like got me into it. We had such a blast with that thing. I mean, we just beat the crap out of it. I mean, just, I don't know. We broke everything out and probably rebuilt it twice. But I had a really, really fun time there. But then as I kind of got into college and all that kind of stuff, I got into other things, got into the music industry. And it wasn't really until about 5 years ago that this entrepreneurial spirit kind of started to congeal into some ideas. On a whim, I got a bonus check from work. I ran out and I bought a Slash at the local hobby store. And that's really where it started. That's really where the current whole MyTruck RC kind of budded from that experience. So I got a Slash, and being an engineer, I was so impressed at all of the engineering and how far the RC industry had come, especially with LiPo batteries and all that kind of stuff. It was kind of taking it to a whole new level. And yeah, but the problem that I had was I loved playing with the Slash, but I couldn't play with it at nighttime. I'd take it, you know, over to friends' houses, and at nighttime that thing would disappear, get broken instantly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I figured, man, somebody's got to do some lights. Or, you know, I shopped around online. I really didn't see anything good. The products that I saw out there, the problem that I had with them, you could buy like individual LEDs or bits and pieces, and you could kind of put it together yourself, but it seemed a lot more difficult to do than I thought it should be. And that's where I started thinking, hey, maybe there's something that I can bring to this industry that I, you know, and do things the way that I would like them to be. Because, you know, I think probably a lot of people have a lot of the same issues that I have when they, you know, get into their RC work. So yeah,
Awesome,
that's how I kind of got into it.
Yeah. If you weren't doing this RC version of what you've got going on, what other area do you think you would have taken on to take on this like entrepreneurial challenge that you have going on per se? What would you replace RC with?
It's a great question, and it's a hard to answer that question because I'm so interested in so many things. I do a lot of carpentry work. I always have. So that's kind of a hobby of mine. But I'm kind of one of those guys that is interested in so many things, almost too many things. It's easy to get distracted by other things. MyTruck RC has really been a lesson in focus and really trying to stay, you know, true to what we are and not. It's so tempting to branch out into other areas of RC, and I keep having to kind of pull back on that and say, hey, we're going to be the light experts. But yeah, I don't know. Does that answer your question? Like, actually, what was the question again?
Just if you weren't doing this, what area do you think you'd like branch off into? Where do you think you'd go? I'm not really sure. I have other business interests. I was once involved in, and actually still am involved in a greenhouse controls company. So that's something that, you know, does still pull on me, and I still get involved in that sometimes here and there. It's a company that we started about 15 years ago. I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure where it would go. I have a lot of interest. I think I'll always be involved in RC at this point. I really wish I actually had more time to do more of the craft kind of stuff, aspects of RC. I really love doing that kind of stuff, and I really would like to do more of it. As I get older and retire, I definitely will. Yeah, absolutely. So this next question is kind of an odd one for you, given your position and what you do in RC, so I'm going to phrase it a little differently. So I always ask everybody, they're like big tires or small tires, because we're very much predominantly a crawler conversation. But I think more along the lines for you, I want to know, like, what's your favorite niche part of the RC community that you have going on? Like, are you a crawler person, drift cars, boats, planes, helicopters? Like, what's your niche?
I get addicted to all of them. I geek out on like everything, and I have literally boats and planes and drones and helicopters, you name it. I have multiples of all of those things. The crawler is really where I'm most involved in these days. When I first started out, I tried to design the lighting kits to be sort of universal, so they could be suitable to whatever segment of the RC industry you're into, because there's so many segments to it. But the RC crawlers in the local communities, I really like going out and hanging out with those guys, learning from them, interacting with them. So that's really where it's at for me these days. I really focus on that. Yeah. So, and you'll see by some of the vehicles that I have tons of crawlers, just a small sampling here, but yeah, definitely the crawler scene.
All right, so are you a fan of brushless or brushed systems, and why?
I definitely am going towards brushless systems. Most of the vehicles that I buy, most of them are ready to runs. I try to get kits are ready to runs because that's the easiest thing to design the light kits around. That's what the majority of people will have. So I want to make sure whatever kit I design will be suitable to those guys. So most of my vehicles are ready to run, so they always start out with the stock stuff. Most of my vehicles, I actually do keep them stock for a long time. There's only a few vehicles that I started to branch off into and actually get into more of the fun stuff, spending money modding axles and all that kind of stuff, and tires and rims and all that, which is really what I'd like to be doing. That's where it gets good. Exactly. Yeah, I think, so that's my position on that.
Awesome, perfect. So where did the name for my Trick RC come from?
When I was first starting out with the business, I'd really just trying to think about what would a company be, and the word trick is a word that isn't so popular these days. It was more popular, I'm kind of dating myself, but in the 80s, 90s, I always thought it was a cool word like boss. I thought about boss RC or trick RC. I kind of threw out a whole bunch of ideas and bounced it off friends, and it just kind of landed on there. Honestly, in hindsight, it's kind of a weird name. I know probably a lot of people kind of go like, oh, that's a kind of unusual name for a company. In retrospect, I probably would have named it something different, but the one good thing about it, it's identifiable. People come to know it, and it's a brand. It's become a brand, and it's really what is behind the brand that counts. So it just kind of happened. There wasn't any like real brilliant, epiphany like, oh, it should be this or that.
Yeah. So people who have small businesses that I've asked that about, they're like, yeah, I kind of just did this thing and it happened, and now that's what it is. So.
It snowballed. I really never imagined it would turn into this. When I first started out, it was just, I'm going to do something, I'm going to sell something on the web. It's just kind of for fun, bring something to the community, and then it's just one thing just added to another, and now it's snowballed into this huge thing that takes over my whole life.
So let's talk about that whole, that one thing you were going to put out first. What is that one thing? What was the first thing that you put out there that started it all?
Yeah, the first thing is kind of an odd product. I have one here. This is what it is. And I don't know if you can guess what this is. This is a police flasher bar. It's an odd kind of product as a first thing, but it really didn't directly answer the issue that I had. Was I wanted lights for my Slash. Why did I do this? It was really that product design background. I was just thinking about, actually, I'm not sure. I don't even remember exactly where the original idea came from for the police flasher bar. But when I did this, I really took a lot of time and thought about it. How can I produce like the coolest, best quality product, a light bar that's out there, really take it really far for what it is. I mean, it's just a police flasher. How many people are going to even want this? Not too many, but this is like the most awesomest one out there. And I keep once I had this platform, I tooled up the whole lens and everything. I spent some money on it, really developing it, but tried to design it to be really inexpensive. And this was originally the only thing that I was planning to sell. I was like, okay, I'm just going to do a light bar. I'll try that, see what happens.
Yeah.
And we're still sell these today. It's gone through a whole iteration. So there's a circuit board in here, inside of here where the LEDs are. And that's gone through several iterations. We keep adding more and more features to it. And at one point, I'll show you one of the ones here. This is actually one of our newest products as a update to this flasher bar. So that was the first product.
Awesome, man. I'm glad to see the first one still hanging in there strong and getting updated and staying where it's supposed to be, up at the in the forefront. So
yeah, one of the lessons that oh, go ahead. Sorry. No, I was going to say one of the lessons that I learned over the course of all these years of designing products was, if you really take time on something, really put a lot of thought into it, that will usually be a product that has a lot more life to it. The more thought that you put into it, not only the better is the product going to be now, the more likelihood it's going to have a longer lifespan. And exactly, so I'm happy about that. I'm happy about that aspect of the design.
Right, man. So here's a two-piece question for you. Favorite and least favorite part about running the MyTrick RC stuff? Yeah,
well, the favorite part is really easy to answer. I love creating. I'm a creator. I'm a builder. That's fundamentally my personality. That's who I am. I just love building projects. And if I'm not doing this, I'm doing something else. I always have 10 projects going simultaneously. So that's what gives me energy, coming up with ideas and new ways to do things. How could we, any form of product design and trying to bring ideas into that product, making it more than just a bumper, making it more than just a light, making it more, really making it into something that's special to ultimately to the customer, that people that buy it will appreciate. And I get a lot of really positive feedback from our customers, and it's awesome. That's super awesome. Yeah. So I really like that creative aspect and being able to bring something unique and original and creative to the community. As far as what is the dislike part, it is a lot of work running a business, and most of what you will see as far as MyTrick RC, I'm deeply involved in everything, whether that's the website or the manuals or the products themselves. Or it's a true, MyTrick RC is a true embodiment of me, really, and it's a lot of work. I mean, it's a lot of stress, and over time that does make me tired. So that's probably the most negative side, but I really enjoy it overall, and I love the community of the RC RC community.
Awesome, man. So let's talk just briefly about like your design process as a whole. So obviously you don't have to like give up anything special or secret that you do or whatever, but like how do you like identify what you want to do, attack the problem, and then kind of like put it out there to the world?
So I always start with what you know. So, and it's easy to have an idea and to just kind of launch off on that idea. But I found that the more thought that you put into the work up front, the easier it gets later on. So I always try to identify the parts of it that I know. So if I'm going to do design a light kit for a body or a particular vehicle, obviously I start with that vehicle, and I look at what the limitations are going to be, what the challenges are going to be. I take all the things that I know that I can measure that are tangible, and then I try to work towards the idea stages into that, the creative aspect, building on top of that. That's the fundamental process, and that really applies to whatever I do, whether it's something mechanical or electrical, whatever. I always try to start with the tangible things that I know, and then try to build off of that. Hopefully, everybody can kind of get where I'm coming from on that. I don't know if that's the best way to answer the question, but that's the way that it makes most sense to me when I'm designing something. That's always where I start. I gather as much information as I can about where I'm going to start from.
Yep. Understandable,
Yeah.
man. I follow you completely. I'm hoping everybody else does as well, so we'll see.
Yeah.
My next question is like, what makes your stuff, your light kits, your products that you're putting out there, stand apart from the other people who are also putting similar-ish products out there on the shelves?
Right. There's a lot of competition out there for sure.
Mm-hmm.
What really sets us apart, the products that I have that we build, I have a lot of control over the products from every aspect. So from the idea, the design, the construction, the materials, the quality control, how it's presented informationally, how the manuals are. So it's that thought that uh, I won't sacrifice when it comes to things like quality. I don't take shortcuts. We do everything to the best of our ability and to try to bring it in at a cost competitive. There's a lot of things that we have to weigh, but everything that I do, I try to bring top quality to the products. So they'll be durable, they'll last, they'll perform the way that they're expected to perform, the way they're stated to perform. So there's that. And then also, we're pretty unique in the sense that I don't think there's anybody else. With our kits, they're meant to be scalable. So you can buy components and you can combine them together to build whatever kit you want specific to your application or your vehicle. I don't think there's anybody out there that builds kits and sells kits quite like that. So people on our website, we have standard kits you can buy that are kind of generic kits, have like light bars and headlights and whatever. Then we have vehicle-specific kits. So for like the Axial SEX10 or the Bronco, the Traxxas Bronco, we have kits that are specifically meant for them with maybe some 3D printed parts related for the installation. So we really put that extra thought into the kits, and our kits are like holistic systems. So not only can you add on to them, you can buy a basic kit and add on to it. We sell individual LEDs. We build completely custom kits. A lot of our customers, they'll buy a kit for their vehicle, and then later on they're like, we want to add more lights to this, or I'm going to take this controller out, I'm going to put it in another vehicle, I need more LEDs. They can just go and buy more LEDs. They don't need a controller. They can just buy more, switch it up, change the mode on the controller, they're off to the races.
Right.
And one of the cool things about our controllers, this was the second product. This is the UF7 lighting controller. There's a lot of different ports on here, and there's a little mode button. So this controller, the UF7 is universal flasher with 7 outputs. There's 7 basic outputs on here. It's very versatile, and you can use it on a lot of different products. So if one day you had this in a rock crawler, and the next day you want to put it in a car and have turn lights and all, turn signals and stuff, you can use the same controller. Just press the button to switch it to the car mode versus the rock crawler mode or whatever, and you're off to the races.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Sweet. So we did just get a quick show and tell, but do you have any other goodies kicking around, like right at your fingertips right there? You want to show off a couple things real quick, or?
Yeah, well, I can talk a little bit more about the kind of evolution of the product. So the first thing we came out with was the flasher bar. And after I had that, I was kind of like, my intention was really to only sell them through the website. I'm just going to be a direct reseller. And once I did that, I started to try to promote it. I'm thinking like, man, who's going to buy just a flasher bar? People want a complete light kit. They want a complete police car, not just a flasher bar. So then I stepped back and I'm like, okay, what could I do that would be versatile enough to use for everybody, whether you're a scale guy or a basher or whatever, airplane. And that was where this really evolved from. So this little pigtail on the back here, this little extra wire, this is not an input, this is an output. This is where people would plug the police flasher bar into. So the inputs are actually, where are they? They're here. There's 2 inputs. These are grouped. So port A, these will both perform the same function. If they're blinkers, they'll both be blinkers. Anyway, so this controller with this many outputs and the ability to switch modes, and having 2 inputs means you can have a motor and a 3rd channel, or a motor and a steering servo. So you have 2 inputs that can be assigned to whatever, depending on what mode you're in. So if you're in a car mode, you've got a throttle and you've got a turn signal. or a steering servo, boom, you're good to go. If you're a police car, you have a motor for the brake lights, and then you have a third channel switch to remotely switch all the strobes on and off. So this basic architecture has been fantastic. It's really allowed this kit, or this one controller, to be built into many different kits, and we've sold thousands upon thousands of these things because it's so versatile and can be used in so many different ways. So that was the second product that we came out with, and this was a big success. But one of the problems that I ran into over time as I started to learn more and more about the community and where scale was going, how scale was really growing, a lot of people kept telling me, it's like, you got to do a light bar, you got to do a light bar. But I didn't want to rush into anything. I really wanted to stop and think about, like, if I'm going to do a light bar, how am I going to do a light bar? How am I going to do it that's going to be different than anybody else? And really, what cool features would I want to bring, to the community? And out of that, the next controller was this. What came out of that was this. This is the Dragon controller. And this guy has the ability to power high power light bars. So I didn't want to do just an ordinary standard LED light bar. I wanted to do something that was unique in as many ways as possible. So I've sourced the brightest, absolutely brightest LEDs that I could affordably put into a product. I looked at a lot of different materials, engineering materials. I could have done this metal or aluminum. I chose plastic because I thought it would be more rugged and it would look better over time. If it's scraped, you wouldn't, see the aluminum underneath. It just kind of stays the color that it is. And it's super duper rugged. I mean, these things are like rock solid, bulletproof. We basically hardly ever get returns really on any of our products. But yeah, so this controller, the Dragon controller, has these 4 black outputs right there. The light bar, you'll notice the connector on it is black. Well, you can plug 4, actually more than, you can plug 4 different light bar things into here. So we have a whole series of different light bars. We have big light bars, small light bars, we have little spotlights, we have high power headlights. You can combine those in any form that you want on here. And then there's 2 white outputs. These are for your standard 3mm, 5mm LEDs. So you can have running lights and then either a reverse light or a tail light function. So this is a little bit more limited on all of the different features. So in the case of the US7, if you press the mode button, you're changing the mode from like a crawler mode to a police car mode.
Right.
Here the modes aren't quite like that. This is really meant to be an off-road controller. And so the mode button doesn't change from different vehicle types. It changes between different brightness level settings on the high power brightness. And I'll show you that here in a minute. So what we did is that was pretty unique. Nobody had that. We have adjustable brightness on our light bars. Really unique. We have it's fully waterproof. We have a tethered manual button so you can locate this in a convenient place, not in the middle of your controller or some weird place like that. Mm-hmm. So that was another unique thing we did. Another unique thing we did is we came out with this integrated wire. So coming out of the controller, you see all those wires coming through a quick disconnect. So this guy, you can easily separate your body from your chassis. It has all the connectors right in there. It's fully waterproofed. And then connecting to your vehicles, piece of cake. You just got 2 connectors. One, the black one is for the motor servo. That will give you your reverse lights or your brake lights. Mm-hmm. The red one is for your 3rd channel, so you can remotely adjust the brightness. That was another unique thing we did that we brought to the market. And then this one is for your power connector. It comes with a balance port, a 2-cell and 3-cell balance port adapter, so it comes with that. But you can remove that. We have little adapters also that you can connect like to your Deans or your Traxxas and just tap right in here. So the really cool thing is once this half of the cable is installed on your chassis, you don't ever have to touch the wiring. It's done, it's installed. If you want to separate the body, you just unplug it. You're good to go. And in fact, if you have one of our little power adapters, you don't need to connect it to the balance board every time. As soon as you connect your battery, boom, it's powered, it's ready to go. You're off to the races. So,
Awesome.
yeah, so that was kind of the evolution. So this is off-road specific, where this is more general, use. The street guys that want a lot of features, or cars or emergency vehicles, boom, this is your one.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so I can't lie. The garage in the background is calling my name, and I need to know more about it. And,
Right.
I need to see if we can get some kind of tour or something going on back there, because there seems to be a lot of cool goodies going on inside of there.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm kind of tethered to my phone here, but I'll do the best that I can. I'm going to actually disconnect my phone here for a second. All right. Do this the best that I can. So the shop kind of evolved. This originally started out as we needed a backdrop to photograph all of our vehicles. And as we started to work on it, sorry, I'm not doing a great job here handing this around. Yeah, so you can see the walls are all plywood, and we started out, we just wanted to have a cool backdrop to photograph our vehicles and show off the different light kits. But it kind of turned into its own project. And I started to think about the possibility of actually building these walls for sale, fabricating them. All of the walls here, the brick pattern, it's not printed, it's actually cut into it. So these are real brick shapes sculpted into the wood. And then we just did a lot of painting and weathering to make it look as scale as we could. And it just snowballed into this huge thing. The lights, they're all 3D printed. So we have access to CNC devices. We have 3D printers, and we have a lot of hand tools. So, I mean, the lights, the conduit on the back wall, if you can see, all the little switches and whatnot are all 3D printed. Yeah, we just went all the way. A lot of the parts that you see, like the lifts and the toolboxes and such, those are provided by exclusive RC. They're banners in the background there somewhere. Yeah. We kind of have we built a relationship with those guys, and so they provided a lot of the parts for us to fill out the shop and really make it look complete and finished. Yeah, but we just took this thing to, it was supposed to be the Epic Shop, and it really became the Epic Shop. We fully did the exterior walls. We did the full CNC routing on the trusses and whatnot. The full lighting system, including the light on the front of the building. You can see that.
Awesome. That thing takes up some real estate. That's a big garage, man.
Oh, there we go. Sorry about that.
Oh, we're
cut
good.
off there. Yeah. So yeah, the shop kind of evolved into a monster, but it's so cool. We took it out to Proline by the Fire. We got second place, so it's an award-winning shop, I guess we can say. And it looks really great in person. It photographs really well. I think it's become kind of an icon in and of itself. So I think we'll be taking it to more events and stuff, so people can get a chance to get in there and take some cool pictures with it. It's super awesome for that.
Awesome.
And
I dig it. I think it looks cool.
Yeah. And this whole, so it started out as a backdrop for us to photograph our vehicles, but it kind of evolved into this kind of experiment into, hey, is this something we could do and produce and build for other people? And it's something we're still contemplating. I kind of pulled back from it a little bit just because I get so busy with the day-to-day running of the business. But it's something we're still considering and looking at. Like I said, Exclusive RC and other people out there have a lot of the accessory parts ready. So, I mean, a lot of people could really fill it out. And it could be another whole segment of the scale crawler market, I think, potentially. So I would be curious to see what kind of feedback the viewers have about that, what their opinions are.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about some other stuff inside of like the building of the RC stuff. So What's one thing, if you're building a scale build, scale crawler, scale car, scale whatever, what's the thing you can't leave off of it?
Lights.
I knew that was going to be the answer.
I know. That was too easy. That was too easy. Beyond lights, I think the second most valuable thing you can do to your crawler is tires. That has to be the second most important thing. Not so much from a scale standpoint, but more of a performance standpoint. Me personally, I'm into both. I love the scale, but I also love the performance aspect of it. Back to your question about big tires or small tires. I like both. I mean, the big tire vehicles are really fun. I have a Bomber. The thing is great. It's stock. I beat the heck out of that thing. I've taken it to Axle Fest multiple years. It's all stock. It still runs great. It's amazing. I can't believe it. I did finally lose a servo at Axle Fest this year. But that thing is really, really fun. But at the same time, the scale vehicles, the TRX4, the HPI Venture, all of the scale stuff is really cool. I love the scale aspect, the scale challenge. I myself have Jeeps, and we go out doing full scale crawling. I've been doing that for years, probably 10 or 15 years, and there's really a lot of correlation between real crawling and scale crawling. I mean, the challenges fundamentally are the same. We get a little spoiled because our vehicles are so awesome that they can climb really well, better than the full scale ones. But still, I mean, the fundamental challenges are really similar. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. I've never gotten to do like full scale wheeling type stuff. I grew up in a very rural area, so four-wheelers, tractors, I mean, you name it, driving vehicles off-road, but not to the extent with anything we do with these trucks. I mean, that's just, it's not in my immediate area, so I've not experienced that.
Sure,
maybe someday.
Sure. Yeah, if you ever come out to California. It's great. We love it. We have a blast doing that.
Yeah. So what areas of RC in general are you following the most closely?
Most closely is definitely the rock crawler stuff in the scale scene. I should be following more than I do. Like I said, I'm so busy with the day-to-day of the business, I don't get the luxury of as much as I wish I did. But definitely the scale RC, the scale crawler scene is what I'm most involved in. Definitely. There's no really other communities that I'm so involved in these days. I used to do a lot with aircraft, airplanes and stuff, but not so much these days.
Awesome. So out there inside of the scale community that you're following, is there anybody that keeps popping up that like keeps hitting your interest, keeps piquing the interest? Like if you were going to pick someone that you're following in the crawling segment of the hobby and say, hey Adam, put them on live at 9:45, who would you pick and why?
A lot of people I think you've already had on. RC Girl, she's definitely a good candidate. She's pretty new into the RC stuff. She's actually one of our team drivers.
Okay.
She's super cool, and the people. Well, I don't know if this is different than any of your other questions, but I mean, people who are kind of inspire me, and people who I would follow in terms of that. Yeah, there's quite a few. Actually, who I find inspirational, not only are just people, but Traxxas. I mean, the stuff that they've done with the TRX4 platform is just phenomenal. I mean, I'm so impressed by that. I'm very humbly impressed by the guys at Axial and who really kind of did a lot to create this market, really. But in other individuals, like Customs, Reefs, the guys at Exclusive, I see many aspects of the industry, not just the rock crawlers. The drift scene is also, I was really involved in that more so before. Those guys are crazy too, man. They go all out on the scale stuff. And in fact, they were doing a lot of scale stuff before it became as big in the crawling scene. These guys would do opening doors and all that stuff. That's the stuff you are seeing now, but they were doing that, probably 5 years ago.
Right.
And yeah, so Knight Customs is a big inspiration, I think, for me. I really admire his whole business aspect, the whole what he does for the community, and he just presents it really well. Definitely one. Matt Kett, in terms of guys that are builders, he does some amazing work. There's so many people that do so many awesome, incredible things out there. I'm glad to be a part of it, and glad that I could bring something to them and everybody else, really, to help push everybody up a level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So my next question for you, actually, it's not a question at all. Let me rephrase my statement here. So you just said that you were kind of talking about you were pretty heavily involved in the drift scene there for a little while. And so I happen to know that you had an awesome opportunity to shoot a video with a certain specific company that was drift related. Prime that a little bit for the people who are tuned in now or who are tuning in on YouTube.
Yeah.
Be like, hey, head over and check out this video because I watched it and it's sick. Like, the lighting in it is good. It looks good all across the board. Like, I really liked it.
Yeah. So the way that came about is in the earlier days, I was really trying hard to break into the market. And I live in Southern California. Our office is located in Anaheim, and there's a lot of RC stuff centered around here: HPI, Axial, Proline, and many others. And I'd been trying to get in touch with the guys at HPI, and it just wasn't working out. Then one year I was out at SEMA, and I ran into their marketing guy out there. He had a booth, and I just walked over. I'm like, hey, I'm Dan from My Trick RC. And he's like, I know who you are. And we kind of hit off that conversation. And then a few months later, he called me up, and he just out of the blue, he's like, hey, I got this thing that we're working on with Falcon Tire. They did a lot of work together, co-marketing stuff, because Falcon Tire is into the drift scene. HPI was doing a lot of drift cars, so HPI would actually use Falcon as one of their sponsors for their stickers and stuff on their cars. So they have these business relationships with all these different companies. And so he calls me up out of the blue, and he's like, hey, would you be interested in possibly shooting a video with these guys? And I'm like, yeah, of course, man. If I have a chance to work with you, and I just met the guys over at the drift track up in Baldwin Park, which is Super G drift track. Next thing you know, actually, let me back up for a second. About a year and a half prior to that, I had shot a video myself. It wasn't nearly as epic as the one I did with these guys, but it's another video you guys can check out. We shot the whole entire video in my garage. I did a lot of planning for the cameras, booms, and all that stuff. I constructed all of the jibs, or I forget what they call those things, the arms, the swinging arms, and all that stuff for the cameras, and built all the props and stuff. So I had done a video, and I think the guys at HPI had seen it because I used all HPI cars in that video. And that was one of the things that kind of opened the door to working with those guys. So anyway, so once everybody was like, okay, look, we're going to do this, we did the filming. We shot it up at the drift track in Baldwin Park. We kind of collectively built all the props. I did a lot of design of the physical props. We did 100% of all of the lighting that you see in the video. So that's not only the cars, it's all the lighting on the buildings, well, I can't say necessarily all the background lighting, but anything you see that's a lighting feature, like on a building or a light, street pole or traffic signal, we did all of that stuff. And the guys at Falcon Tire, who had the big budget, and this was really their thing, they were the one who were officially sponsoring it. They built a lot of the buildings and a lot of the smaller detail props, dumpsters, and that kind of stuff. And they had all the video equipment. And we kind of planned it out for several months, and when the day came to shoot, we were there, we set everything up, we shot the whole entire video in one day. I mean, it was one long day, and they did all the post-production on it, and it looks awesome. I don't know how many views, it's many, many, many millions of views at this point.
Yeah, there were a lot. When I viewed it, there were a lot of views on that video.
Yeah.
So.
And actually, one of the things, the epic shop here, I learned stuff going through that experience of shooting that video with them about what kind of props are going to work for the shooting. What kind of props can you build and have a track and be able to get it from all kinds of angles and stuff. So that was kind of inspirational on this as to what kind of features to try to work towards to, that would photograph well.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna shift things just a second here and say, like, you say you go out to events, you have newer people who are accessing you to buy your products and so on and so forth. When you have a brand new person just entering into the RC community, like, what is your best piece of advice that you could give to them? And like, they're like, hey, I just met you, I just bought this ready to run truck, I want to take it out. Like, what's your advice for them?
It's really two forms of advice. One is get on forums, look around forums groups, look online for that kind of stuff, and then also look for clubs around you. No matter what segment of RC you're into, there's a club around you, and there's probably multiple clubs, and that's where you really get in and learn about the hobby. You learn from other people, you're hanging out with them, you're seeing what other people are doing, what works, and plus that community, just being part of a group is fun. It's cool, and I think that not only would build a better interest in the hobby, you'll get more out of it. I think people get more out of it. So that's what I would recommend.
All right, so my next question, you kind of almost answered some of it earlier when you were talking about the RC girl, who, by the way, bought one of my license plates that I sell, and I was like, I wonder who this person is, and I looked it up. Dude, she has a killer following.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was going to reach out to her after this and let her know.
Yeah, she's doing cool stuff. So, name drop to RC Girl. Like, check her out. I think Instagram was RC Girl for sure. And then I don't know if her Facebook's the same or whatever, but check out Instagram RC Girl for sure.
Yeah, she's blowing up.
Yeah, absolutely. So additionally, do you sponsor drivers? Yes, you do. And so if you're looking for someone, like if you were sponsoring someone, what are you looking for in people that you're like, hey, I'd like to work out some kind of sponsorship effort with you?
Mostly what I look for, I'm relatively new to the whole sponsoring thing. I really didn't have my head around what that was. And really, I have to say, this whole experience of Trick RC is a learning experience. It's an ongoing learning experience. It's like an education that never ends, honestly. Completely lost my train of thought. You asked me.
You're good. So no, it was about if you were picking someone to represent your brand,
right.
Who are you selecting and why?
Right. So the people that I have reached out to, which is a very small group, it's only a few people, were people that I see active in the community, that are actively posting. They have a following. They're doing things that I feel like are compatible with what we do. In other words, they may not be involved with anybody in lighting, which most people aren't, because there aren't that many lighting people out there, but who I feel would be like a good fit to the other team drivers, a good complement to them, and also people that are really involved in the industry, in the groups. She's a perfect one. Munster RC is a perfect one. Mike Momola, I don't know if you guys know him. We have just a few, maybe six team drivers, and occasionally I add on one here or there, but those are the kind of things that I look for when I do that. People who have a following and I think will be compatible with us, me, and the group.
Awesome, man. So, Mike that you just named, Mike Mamala or whatever, he's the guy that has the Toyota pickup truck that was like bouncing through all the dirt whoops.
Yes.
All over the internet right now.
Yeah.
That guy's video is like spot on. Very well
done.
I love it.
Yeah.
Stuff bouncing out of the bed. Oh man.
He's fanatical. I mean, he's the perfect kind of guy. He's out there filming almost every day, and that is one of the things we look for. People who are regularly posting. They have new content. It's interesting stuff. He's he's into more than just the RC. He's in photography and places to go to film stuff and getting really cool shots like that.
Yeah.
That's what it's about, for sure.
Yeah, that video clip, oh my gosh, it's like what, 10 seconds maybe? Epic.
Mm-hmm.
And it hit like 4x4 feeds and all kinds of stuff. He
It looked real. It took two I had to take a double take on that one.
It looked awesome, although I would not have wanted to been in that truck if it was real. I'm not gonna
Exactly. Lie. That's what we were all thinking.
All right, Dan, so we're kind of like steamrolling it here toward the end of stuff. Is there something that I missed? Something that that you feel we need to get out there? Anything along the way?
Well, just talking about some of the new kinds of things that we have coming up in the future. One of the things we're kind of excited about. This is a really niche thing, and not everybody will be into this so much. I don't know how much of this you can see. But this is kind of an example of where we're trying to go, and as we bring more things to the market. I'm going to take my earphone out for a second.
Yeah, you're good.
So I don't know if you can see the CHP car here.
Yep, you can see it really well, actually.
Okay, perfect. So the car is on, and what we did with the new flasher bar, and we have a new version of the US7. We call it the US7B. So for each of the modes that was in there, we've added some modes, but for each of the modes that were in there, we really were able to, we figured out a way to add more functionality to each mode. So each mode has a lot more than it did before. And what that means is more scale kinds of details. So if you're going to do a CHP vehicle, these are the actual blink patterns you'll see on a CHP, one-to-one CHP vehicle. And that goes for not only the front blink patterns, but also the light bar. That this is an actual, that's what the pattern looks like. And we don't have this yet, but in probably another month or so, this will have an automatic arrow. So when the car comes to rest, after 15 seconds, the arrow will automatically come on either left or right. And then as soon as you start driving, it'll shut itself back off. And then whenever you're ready, you can just shut your strobes off. Additionally, I don't know if you can see that, it has brake light functionality, and you can do that completely independently of the strobes themselves. In terms of the crawler guys, I don't have a great vehicle built up right now to show that off, but what we're going to have on the US7 version of this thing, it'll have things like the center brake light. You'll be able to do brake lights, reverse lights, the center brake lights. You'll be able to do on-off, remotely switch the light bars. We're talking about this controller, not the Dragon controller. So normally this controller didn't do anything with light bars, but actually what we've discovered is that we actually can connect light bars to the pigtail in a limited fashion. You can plug a single light bar into it. The Dragon controller can power many light bars. But if you have just one light bar and you have like a scale crawler system, you'll be able to make a vehicle that's even more scale than it was before. So this is one of our big new releases, is the updated version of the US7, as well as our new flasher bar that has the automatic arrow in it. So those are the immediate things. There's so many other things that we have in the queue that are cooking. A bunch of cool kind of high-tech sort of things, but those things take forever, and we've been working on them forever, and they'll probably take forever still to finish. So these are the immediate things that we have, and other than that, I don't know. Is there any questions that I can answer, or
I don't know. My feed was weird tonight, so I don't know what happened to my live feed, but all I got was people like coming in. And then I haven't seen any comments, and I do not know why.
Oh, okay.
That's never happened to me before, and so maybe either people didn't comment, which is weird because almost always people come in and comment, or something got screwy with the Facebook Live stuff, which happens. I mean, let's be real. My whole Facebook Live experience is always roll with the punches and see what I can do to make it all the way through the show.
Right.
So I haven't seen any comments roll up. If there are comments, I always go back through and answer them afterwards via text anyway. And I will be checking that for sure, guys, if you were commenting. And if you are commenting, feel free to keep going with that. But
Yeah.
I could not see them this evening, so I have no
Okay.
idea what happened.
Yeah, not a problem. We're always available. The lighting stuff, by the nature of what it is a little bit confusing. It's difficult. It takes a little bit to get your head around what it is and what's going on. I think a lot more so than a lot of the other more mechanical things that people deal with. So any opportunity I have to try to answer questions for people, I'm all about that. So, but I mean, follow on. You know, if people have questions, we get a lot of people contacting us through Facebook or Instagram or through our website. Not a problem. We're happy to help you out.
Great, man. Well, if you don't have anything for me, then I can let you go and finish this guy up, this whole interview here. I want to thank you for being on. It was super cool. I like what you're doing with the lights. I've never,
Thank you.
I'm not going to lie to you, I've never been a light guy. But as I build more and more scale,
We'll convert you.
Like, yeah, you have to have it. Like, you have to
Yeah.
have them in there. It doesn't look right. So,
Right.
like, my comp trucks, I just never could. I didn't understand why I needed them on a comp truck, but now at this point, with the scale builds, like, it's a must. So I will definitely be checking all that stuff out a little more closely in the future for sure. So
Yeah, for sure. Well, thanks again for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. I hope your viewers enjoyed it, and look forward to, I don't know, maybe doing this again someday. Who knows?
yeah, absolutely, man. So with that, I'm gonna let you go, and I'll close the show out, and we'll move on from there. Hopefully, I can see the comments afterwards.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Adam.
All right,
Thanks,
you.
everybody. Peace.